This is the story of the Toyota Hilux. 9 generations and nearly 60 years of engineering evolution, from a simple work truck in 1968 to the diesel, hybrid, and electric-powered Hilux on sale today. Before we continue, if you love trucks and automotive history, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future uploads. First generation, 1968 to 1972. It all began in March 1968 in a small Japanese factory with a truck that had almost nothing to prove. The first-generation Hilux was powered by a modest 1.5-liter engine producing around 70 horsepower, sent to the rear wheels through a 4-speed manual gearbox with a column shifter. There was no four-wheel drive, no luxury, no marketing spectacle. Just a separate steel frame, double wishbone front suspension, and a rigid rear axle riding on leaf springs. The cargo bed could carry a full 1,000 kilograms, more than enough for the small businesses and farms that became its first customers. Toyota was not trying to out-engineer anyone. At the time, the truck it replaced, the Briska, had been a stopgap. The Hilux was meant to be the real answer, something dependable enough that customers would come back. And they did. By 1969, Toyota had already added a long wheelbase version, and by 1970, there were van and refrigerated van variants joining the lineup. Second generation, 1972 to 1978, but Toyota was only getting started. In May 1972, the second generation arrived, stretching the wheelbase and introducing a more powerful 2-liter engine option. For buyers who wanted it, a 3-speed automatic transmission became available for the first time, a small but telling sign that Toyota was starting to think about comfort, not just utility. Payload capacity improved, ride quality smoothed out, and sales began climbing steadily, not just in Japan, but across Southeast Asia and into emerging markets in Africa and the Middle East. Competition at the time came primarily from Datsun, along with early entries from Ford and Isuzu, but none of them could match the Hilux's growing reputation for simply starting every single morning without complaint. Third generation, 1978 to 1983. Then everything changed. The third-generation Hilux launched in September 1978, and it is often the most overlooked chapter in this entire story. It should not be. In 1979, Toyota introduced the first 4-wheel drive Hilux, a genuine turning point for the nameplate. Paired with a stronger chassis, revised suspension geometry, and improved diesel engine options, this was the moment the Hilux stopped being purely a delivery truck and started becoming a legitimate off-road machine. Front disc brakes became standard on higher trim models, and an extended cab option gave buyers more interior space than ever before. This generation also introduced the Hilux to a new kind of customer: adventurers, expedition drivers, and off-road enthusiasts who needed something that could handle terrain no paved road ever touched. Competitors like the Datsun 720 and early Mitsubishi trucks were catching up on comfort, but none of them had Toyota's emerging reputation for surviving punishment. This generation laid the foundation for everything that followed. Fourth generation, 1983 to 1988. What happened next made history. The fourth generation, released in November 1983, brought a proper dual-cab body style to the Hilux lineup for the first time, immediately expanding its appeal to buyers who needed to carry both cargo and a full crew. The 4-wheel drive lineup expanded significantly, and larger, more capable diesel engines, including a 2.4-liter unit, gave the truck real towing and hauling muscle. Farmers and mining operations across Africa, Australia, and South America began adopting the Hilux at scale during this era, not because it was the most refined truck on the market, but because it simply refused to fail them in conditions that destroyed other vehicles. This generation also quietly gave birth to a new kind of vehicle entirely: the Hilux Surf, a body-on-frame SUV built on the pickup's underpinnings, would eventually become known in North America as the 4Runner. By the time the fourth generation ended its run, more than 4 million Hilux trucks had been sold worldwide, and the truck's global reputation was no longer building quietly. It was accelerating. Fifth generation, 1988 to 1997. What happened next made history all over again. The fifth generation, introduced in September 1988, brought more aerodynamic styling, improved aerodynamics, and real gains in interior comfort. Production expanded to Germany, where the truck was sold as both the Toyota Hilux and, under a badge engineering deal, the Volkswagen Taro. For a brief period starting in 1991, Hilux production even reached North America through the NUMMI joint venture plant in Fremont, California. But this generation's true legend was not written in a factory. It was written on British television, years later, when a film crew tried to kill one. In a now infamous durability test, a well-used fifth-generation Hilux, already carrying nearly 200,000 miles on the odometer, was driven down a flight of concrete stairs, rammed sideways into a building, and left to sit for hours in the rising tide of the Bristol Channel. It started again using nothing but basic tools and no spare parts. Unsatisfied, the crew dropped it from a crane. They crashed it through a wooden production office. They crushed it beneath a falling caravan. They hit it with a wrecking ball and set it on fire. Every single time, it started and drove away. Sixth generation, 1997 to 2004. Just when competitors thought they had caught up, Toyota kept refining the formula. The sixth generation, introduced in September 1997, brought a noticeably more refined interior and better ride quality, while splitting the lineup into two distinct paths, a rugged business-use truck line and a more comfortable personal-use sports pickup line. This was Toyota formally acknowledging what buyers had been telling them for years. People did not just want a work truck anymore. They wanted a Hilux they could enjoy driving too. This was also the generation that took the Hilux's reputation and multiplied it across the globe. In Africa, it became the default choice for aid organizations, government fleets, and mining operations, precisely because it kept running when everything else quit in extreme heat and rough terrain. In Australia, it began its long climb toward becoming one of the country's best-selling vehicles of any kind. Competitors like the Nissan Navara and Ford Courier pushed hard during this era, but none of them carried the same weight of proven, real-world trust. Seventh generation, 2004 to 2015. This generation changed everything. In August 2004, the seventh generation Hilux launched on Toyota's brand new International Multi-Purpose Vehicle platform, a shared architecture that also underpinned the Fortuner SUV and the Innova minivan. This let Toyota build a genuinely global truck, engineered once and sold in more than 140 countries with optimized production and supply systems spanning the world. Common rail turbo diesel engines dramatically improved refinement and noise levels, closing the gap between the Hilux and a proper passenger vehicle. Interior space grew, comfort improved, and for the first time, the Hilux felt less like a farm tool and more like a truck you would genuinely want to drive every day. It was not a flawless run, though. Early reliability concerns briefly dented its reputation, and rather than replacing the platform on schedule, Toyota extended this generation's production life through two separate facelifts, a decision that cost them some ground against increasingly competitive rivals like the Ford Ranger, Mitsubishi Triton, and Isuzu D-Max. But the trust the Hilux had built over 3 decades was strong enough to absorb the hit. It remained one of the best-selling pickups on the planet throughout this entire era. Eighth generation, 2015 to 2025. Just when competitors thought they had finally caught up again, the eighth generation arrived and reasserted the Hilux's dominance. Launched in 2015 with a bolder, more muscular exterior design and a genuinely modern interior, this generation offered 2.4 and 2.8-liter turbo diesel engines, producing up to 201 horsepower and more than 500 pound-feet of torque, paired with 6-speed manual and automatic transmissions. Towing capacity, fuel efficiency, and everyday drivability all improved significantly, while the ladder frame chassis and proven four-wheel drive systems underneath remained untouched because Toyota knew exactly what not to change. Facelifts in 2020 brought bolder styling, refined suspension tuning, and upgraded infotainment technology, and updates in 2023 and 2024 introduced 48-volt mild hybrid diesel technology in select markets, Toyota's first real step toward electrification without abandoning the diesel torque the Hilux had built its reputation on. Ninth generation, 2025 to present. If you enjoyed this journey through the evolution of the Toyota Hilux, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Which Hilux generation is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.